All right, I'd like to thank everyone for meeting with us here today. We're going to be presenting this article, Social Business, What Are Companies Really Doing? By David Carone, Doug Palmer, Ann Wynn Phillips, and Nina Krushwitz. My name is Christian.
I'm Carly.
I'm Zach.
I'm Gopika.
And so what is social business? Now, social business is defined by activities from marketing to operations to leadership to innovation that use social media, social networking, and social software to create connections that can drive business decisions, actions, and outcomes across the enterprise that enable more efficient, effective, and mutually useful connections between people, information, and assets. Now, social business is more than just collaboration. It provides access to data through experiences that simplifies and evolve decision-making from the strategic to the mundane. Implementing social business initiatives has been difficult for many. Research and advisory firm Gartner estimates a failure rate of 70% for social business projects. Factors that have contributed to this are not using enterprise software to solve true business problems, failing to integrate social software into an organization's daily workflow, and a general lack of understanding. Now, the growing importance of social business. The importance of social software is expected to rise 250% within 3 years, as you see here on this graph. Using the term social with the term business can elicit a mix of reactions, which is kind of weird because critics observe that every organization is already social in some way, so it's not clear what the new term adds to it. Another objection is social is seen as unproductive. But on the other hand, advocates have embraced the term, asserting that social business fulfills the basic human need to connect with others. Now, this need is 1 out of 3 physiological needs, like basic human physiological needs. The other 2 being the need to feel competent and need to feel autonomous, which may also play a vital role in social business. Motivations to participate in social business activities are thus far from superficial and even go beyond our social nature. They can help fulfill basic physiological needs. Now I'm going to hand you all over to Carly.
Okay. And now that Christian has taken us through that incredibly long definition of social business and its importance, I'm going to tell you about the industries that value social business the most and what leaders should know about it. On average, it's the small companies that are less than 1,000 employees and the larger companies that are over 100,000 employees that use social business the most and get the most value out of it. And small companies like to use it because it makes them appear larger and more established, and it can help them reach a greater audience without spending as much money. And then large organizations, it helps them seem like smaller and more personal, and that they're closer to the consumer. And then middle organizations don't get as much use from it because they don't have near as many resources as the large organizations. And they typically stick with their blend of traditional like technology and their ways of marketing. And then the use of social business has helped many companies be more efficient in communicating among departments, and it allows different teams to collaborate and communicate about their plans. And media and tech industries have been the most open to taking on new methods of social business, and they tend to be more open and innovative cultures compared to other industries. According to a survey, 68 to 69% of managers from media and technology companies believe that their companies are innovative, and 77 to 88% say that they believe they are open to new ideas. Both of these percentages are larger than other organizations because they're more closed off to new things. And managers and leaders should recognize that social business adds value far beyond just marketing. It requires leadership support to gain traction in the organization, and it can deliver benefits to leadership through strategic insight and execution. And now that I've told you about what industries value social business and how it can help leadership, Zach is going to tell you the business value of social media.
All right, so what is the business value of social business? So according to Peter Drucker, a management theorist, he claims that the 2 essential functions of business are marketing and innovation. And social business has a massive impact on those 2 areas, but a common misconception is that it's usually only associated primarily with marketing, when there's lots of areas that social business can affect, like operations and leadership. And so those 4 areas, marketing, innovation, operations, and leadership, are the 4 quintessential areas that social business has an effect on. And so I'll let you guys read that. But to start with marketing, a prime example of a company that used social business to their advantage would be Wendy's Twitter. So for those of you who don't know, a few years back, Wendy's had a viral campaign of essentially roasting other fast food restaurants. Here you can see them roasting McDonald's. And at the time, it was a new and revolutionary idea to use Twitter as a way to not only talk to their customers, but to increase publicity. It was all over the news, and it was a revolutionary idea, like I said. But going along with that, innovation and operations are 2 other areas that are also transformed with the usage of social business. It spawns from the inflow of ideas and knowledge that would otherwise not be available, and it leads to innovational development and operational productivity to be better. And lastly, leadership is also massively impacted by social business. Most, if not all, CEOs have a presence on some sort of social media and have used it to their strategic advantage in execution. And so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kopika.
Okay, so going off of what Zach said on leadership with social business can vary depending on the company culture. And so there are 2 types of ways that a company can implement social business or social software, and that is one of the leading factors are a clear vision and strong leadership. Those are extremely necessary to strongly implement any type of social software into the business process. And the 2 leading obstacles when trying to implement any type of social software is the lack of management understanding or support, as well as a unclear reason for what it could add to the business. So any company that implements social business is likely to have a culture that's more open to new ideas and has more collaboration. When it comes to overall power in business, power comes from the access to information and how much we can control the access to information. And so when if it were to be if information was to be scarce, the power comes from being able to control the output or the point of access of where that information comes from. But if information is abundant, the power comes from being able to be the first to provide that information. And that's where social business comes in, where if businesses are to apply social business softwares to make themselves more open to sharing this information, then more abundant information would be prevalent in companies today. So I'm going to talk about the steps that we would need to take in order to implement social business and put it into action. So the first step is to have a long-term vision to create a broad strategy for what we want to implement the business social software for and what we want to achieve from that. The second step is to assess where the company is standing in the present and what we need to do in order to get to the place that we're aiming to go. And that would be to allocate resources to the correct place to be the most efficient as possible. And that leads on to the next step, which is to allocate the proper funding and software tools to implement the social softwares that we choose to implement depending on the business needs. And finally, the fourth step is to measure the results but not the adoption. One mistake that many companies make when implementing social software is they tend to measure the adoption period, which is the transition period. So when adding anything new to a company or anything in general, we're likely to have many more errors, but if we are able to wait past that error period of time and look at how the company is evolving after that period, then we'd see the plus points of having social business. So now I'll give it back to Christian to close us off.
So in summary, we've covered the growing importance of social business, value of social business, what is the business value, connecting leadership and culture, and also putting social business into action with those 4 steps. Now, I'd like to open the floor up to questions.